Hi everyone, good evening. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me? Hi Dolu, hi Niola, hi Olatunde Adeyole. Hi everyone, you're welcome. Okay. Oh, thank you, Dolu, for confirming that you can hear me. Um, I'll just send a message to Damola to alert her that we've started. Okay. Hi Damola, I can see Damola has just joined. I'm going to request for her to join. Okay. Damola, please can you hear me? Can you confirm that you can? Okay, great.
Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
How are you?
I'm okay. Give me a second, sir.
No problem. Hi.
Okay. I was hoping I'll be able to use my laptop, but I think my phone is good.
Oh, okay. I'm going to use laptop for can you?
Oh, okay. Okay. I heard already. All right.
Yeah, I was exploring that option earlier. How are
Okay.
you?
I'm okay. I'm just glad that this weekend is here, honestly. I feel like this was a heavy week. But how are you? How was your week?
It was good. It was very long.
Okay.
Lot of deliverables. I started a new project at work.
Ooh, amazing. Great job.
Transition and also should I say really understand what the new project is about. So it was a really tough week for
Okay.
me. I'm excited. It's weekend. Time to relax.
Okay. I need dreaming of this weekend so bad. Like, oh God, I need the rest so badly. But yeah, I'm just happy. It's here.
I can.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the time out there? I know this is very early for you, so thank you so
No,
much for agreeing.
okay. It's 10 years. It's pretty good. It's a good time. Yes.
Okay.
It's a good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can get started. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined. Of course, we have our guest in the house. Her name is Ojadamola. So I'm just going to read Damola's very short profile. I don't know why she gave us a very short profile,
Better.
but I'm going to add some adjustments that she doesn't want me to add.
Oh, so add it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Damola is definitely a law guru. Like she's a law expert. So before she even went to Harvard for what's it called, LLM, she's been practicing here in Nigeria, and I think it's really incredible the kind of things she's done. So, I mean, her profile is very short. She's a lawyer who is currently undertaking the Master of Laws program at Harvard Law School. She enjoys dancing, karaoke, and watching rom-coms in her spare time. So I'm really going to set her up with some of the questions we'll be asking. And of course, those questions would kind of shed more light into where she's coming from, what she's done. Okay, so Damola, I'm sure you're excited to be here with us on the show. I can't even thank you enough for agreeing to do this with us. And I really hope that, the things that you'll be sharing will be very helpful for anybody who is interested, not just in pursuing a master's in law, but also, getting into those big schools with the big names. So let's get started with you introducing yourself. So can you tell us, I mean, we know your name, but what really is your professional history, your educational background, and what you do? Pretty much, please be extensive as possible, because I know that sometimes when people share very extensive introductions, it resonates with the audience, so they know, oh, this person is from my hometown, this person, had or has a similar background as myself, and it motivates them to also want to achieve greater feats. So over to you, Damola.
Okay, first of all, praise. Thank you so much for this, for inviting me. I'm so grateful, honestly. I think it's really important that when we get into certain places that we ensure that we're bringing other people along with us. Yeah, very important. And I feel like one of the best ways is sharing information.
Right.
Like in the information age, so a lot of things can be accessed like online and stuff. But I also think that one of the advantages I've had is having like a circle of people that have done these things before and are also like willing to share like what they did that made them stand out. Where someone who gets it as long as the person puts in the work and then the grace of God as well. But of course, there's also the part of like putting in the work. So in terms of my background, um, I I started with I started like at Ministry of Justice Lagos. I did my NYSC year there. It was a phase of my experience that really shaped me as a lawyer and also in terms of character. That was also the phase where I published my novel, my debut novel, and also I also think that it also taught me structure. It taught me doing things for the public good.
Mm,
Um, that you can work anywhere and still do well. It also made me like question in terms of also made me assess my my stance in terms of politics, in terms of how I want to contribute to my community as well.
right.
So I think it was really great experience and it was a very short time. I think I spent only about 9 months there and then I moved to a law firm.
Okay.
When I'm in Nigeria, that was also a very good experience because I feel like it gave me like a very broad legal experience as well.
Mm,
There was a lot of, it was pretty demanding as well. But that experience as well also shaped my next step. It was great foundational experience into being a lawyer, providing services to corporate entities. It was also the place where I knew that I wanted to work in that intersection of technology, law, and finance. Um, it was also the place that laid a foundation for my next phase, as I said before. Really great experience, met really amazing people. I would say that the law firm I worked in, and I'm sure a lot of people have that experience where, like, in the earlier years of your career, the people that you work together, you guys form such a bond because you guys are experiencing so many things together. Like, we had such great work friendships.
mm,
We're all like grinding and learning and trying to be better lawyers. And looking back, I hold that phase of my life with so many memories. Late nights, early mornings. It was an intense phase, if I'm being very honest, but it definitely shaped me in terms of being an excellent lawyer, knowing how to balance obligations, knowing how to prioritize, knowing when
right.
to say yes to task and knowing when to explain that, oh, I would love to do this task, but unfortunately I have a lot on my plate as well.
Right.
And it was really great experience. And from there, I moved in-house to a fintech company, and that was a really, and I'm very, really glad that that was the experience I had before coming to Harvard, because moving from a law firm, which is you providing services to clients, and then moving to where you're getting the perspective, like being inside the client, right? And when I say inside, I mean like in coach, right? So a stage where you're providing services to directly as an employee in a company instead of being like an external lawyer. It was such a great experience. I made some of my warmest friendships today came from me working in PiggyVest. Really amazing place to work. I had an amazing team lead. The founders are they're so inspiring as well. The people I worked with, having to I think one of my greatest uh, things I also was also having to learn the business side of things as well. So as lawyers, sometimes you can be very, oh, the law says this, the law says this. But I think when you're in-house, you're more concerned of this advice you are giving. How does it add value to the client? How does it add value to the company? Like you're looking at things a little bit more from a business perspective than just from the legal perspective. I made great friendships. I had friends in the engineering team.
Mm.
I had very good colleagues in the legal team. One of my really close friends was in compliance. And I think, and of course, I had fun as well. We had retreats, of course, like balance, honestly, I think is very important. I had fun, made memories. Yeah, so I feel like that experience of Ministry of Justice, law firm, a fintech company, is a place where you meet different kind of people, different kinds of people. Ministry of Justice, it's a little bit more bureaucratic. There are a lot of like older people, so you also learn respect. You also learn a lot of humility as well. You also learn doing things with public good. A law firm is kind of like a mix of both, depending on where you're working. It's a bit more structured than a tech company or like than most fintech companies, um, which can be good or not so good, depending on how the firm handles it. And I think the fintech space was such a beautiful experience, very fast paced. Things
Mm.
are always fast. So I think that balance of like moving across industries was really me before I went for my master of laws. Yeah.
Interesting. I think one of the things that I mean, some of the things that I caught from what you've just shared now is, the diversity or the expanse of your experience working, because I can imagine working at the Ministry of Justice
Yeah.
and learning how to work with those older people, learning diplomacy, for example, and some of those transferable skills that even helped you in your fintech and even now at Harvard. Interesting. Okay, so before we go on, if you have any questions, and again, this is not just for those pursuing a master's in law. This is generally about you want to like get into Harvard, and you have questions for Ojadamola. Please, you can drop your questions in the comment, or you can use the question, that's the call out button that's got a question in the middle, just to provide your questions, and I'm sure Damola will be happy to answer the questions. So let's deep dive into how you got into Harvard Law. What motivated you to apply to Harvard Law? For example, I'm sure they do a Masters of Law in Unilag or University of Ibadan or Ife, you know, or you could have gone to any school in the UK or other very prestigious schools in Canada, and what have you. So what really motivated you to say, it's Harvard Law, I want to go to go have my master's? So can you share that motivation with us?
Um. So I applied to a number of schools as well. So I just had to, of course, Harvard has like a good prestige, it has a good alumni body, so it was an easy choice. But of course, I had like other backup plans, right? It's a very competitive program, and even in terms of like countries as well. So looking at the US, looking at the UK,
Mm.
I think I did like most of my education in Nigeria, so it was important for me, so as I was getting older, to just look at like another country where I feel like I could have like a good community. So for me, I did not see the point of doing a master's in Nigeria. And I have friends who have done it, and because of their goals at the time, it made a lot of sense. But I feel like for me, in terms of my short term, mid term, and like long term goals,
Mm-hmm.
I had so much educational experience in Nigeria. So it was just a, I wanted something different, right? And looking at schools in certain countries were good. I also was looking at countries where I felt like I could have like a good community as a student as well. The Master of Laws program is a very short program, it's just 1 year. So I also wanted to go to a place where I felt like I could gain as much as possible, right? Because I did not have like the length of time to, oh, say I'm going to relax and chill and know the pills. A place where I felt like I would be encouraged to maximize the experience as much as possible. Why did I apply for Master of Laws? I think in terms of timing, it was the next best step. I also like to
Mm-hmm.
say peer pressure as well also played like a huge role. I had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that were going for their masters at the time. And I think it's also very important that as you're moving ahead in life, that you're also carrying your friends along. Um, of course, not pressuring anybody. Everybody has their path, but I hear this story of people saying, "Oh, when they're traveling, they like to hide things and stuff." And I get the context of it, right? But I think that in the long term, friendships are a huge part of having a very rich and balanced life. And if you're making certain decisions, of course, there's a part of being discreet, right? But if you're making certain like important decisions and you know someone, I think that this person will be really interested, I think it's something that you bring them along in. Maybe not at the beginning, but at a particular phase, right? I think it's very important. So for me, I had mentors, I had senior colleagues, I had friends. I had people that were younger than me as well that were either applying for their masters, planned to apply for their masters, or had applied for their masters as well. And I felt like when I saw their trajectory after the masters program,
Mm-hmm.
um, I could see myself going that path as well.
Makes sense.
So, very, I had done like enough. I'd worked across industries as well, so it was I felt like I was telling a friend of mine about how like that mark of me moving in 2023 for my masters was if I didn't get it done that year, I worry that I would never do it again. Right. Yeah, so it was a good decision. And also in terms of like intellectual capacity as well. Um I really felt that I could also be a better lawyer, a more intelligent legal person with when I for like a good master's program. It's so important to be fair because experience is still what matters. But I think
Yeah.
that um I think there's just a perspective it gives you, even if it's just the network that you have, even if it's just seeing people from other countries and just learning from their culture, right? I think it does so much for you. And I feel like for me in the Harvard program as well, even learning about like a lot of courses are very like international, but even learning about US law, seeing how the common law system operates, seeing how the judges analyze decisions also makes me question like, okay, maybe this is how what I can learn for myself and maybe in the midterm, short term, long term, bring back to
Yeah.
like the 90s. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
That makes a lot of sense, Damola. I think what really resonates with me in your story is, the whole I mean peer pressure sometimes when it comes to masters can be a good
Yeah.
thing, especially when it's cool where people have gone for their masters and you've seen the result, you can see the result, or that's what every other person is doing. I mean, not that you're feeling like out, but in terms of logical reason, you've thought about it and it just makes sense as the next thing for you to do. So thank you for sharing that, Damola. But I think I'm really very curious. So was it like your first attempt, or you had tried several times, and you know what, you were just lucky when you got in 2023, or you were just like one off as per Bado that you have? What already was it for you?
I applied before. I applied to Harvard before. Um the year before as well. And to be fair, I think the timing I even applied was really wrong. I was switching jobs. I kind of did it in a rush as well. Um, and looking back as well, I'm glad because even in terms of like me growing as a person, I'm glad that I did not get in the first time, right? When I was applying again, there was a lot more assessment as to what I wanted, right? In terms of like my career goals, I was more realistic as to what my short-term goals were, what my mid-term goals were. I also had like better backup plans,
Right.
uh, and of course, I submitted a stronger application.
Makes sense.
I would advise that if you can just apply once and get in once, it's the best, honestly. Because the issue with reapplying is that sometimes you can kind of overthink as to what you did wrong, and you can't really know because most schools won't tell you this was why you did not apply. They did not admit you, right? Um, and sometimes you can't really know. Like I feel like for me, I could assess maybe some application and like I could kind of guess what I did wrong in my first application, but it doesn't even mean that my guess was right. It
That is
just yeah, and also reapplying to has its. I know there are certain schools that when you reapply, they put your old application with your new application, and they see what's different, right? So it also means that if you're reapplying, you can't like there's so many change like there are minimal changes you can make instead of like certain things, right? Your story has to stay somehow consistent. Of course, there are things that can tweak, like maybe your career goals in some ways can be
mm,
changed. Oh, you're 1 year older or like 1 year more experienced, or things like what you're passionate about, right? In terms of practice areas, I don't think you can change it that much, right? Yeah, so that's why just submitting like a strong application the first time just makes so much more sense. Yeah, so with reapplication, I think after I the second time I was applying, um, of course, it also means I had better time to prepare, right? So I had like a 1 year period. Okay, this is what okay, maybe not one, like 9 months period. This is what I did wrong. This is what I should change. I had spoken to so many people, people, not Nigerians as well, because I feel like I need, if you're, because the truth is that it's a competition, whether you like it or not, right? Um, no matter how good your application is, they're looking at the applicant
mm,
pool. That's the, and you're also competing with people that are non-Nigerians. So it was very important for me to speak to people that are. I can remember then. Oh gosh, shout out to LinkedIn and so many people. I was speaking to my Tennessee scholars, speaking to non people from Israel, Indians, um, Czech Republic. Like I just needed to ensure that I was speaking to people, Americans as well, because they're like in the system, so that they can give such a solid perspective, right?
mm,
Um, you also want to show that when they put you in a class with, because the classes here are you're taking it with other people, other JDs. So there's a JD program which is like the proper law program, right? So they also want to be sure that when you're in class with a JD, like you can also contribute as much as they would, right? So I think for me, it was also important for me to speak to people that, of course, people like me that had my background and people that had nothing to look like me, people that didn't have the same experience. So I could see what they had done.
mm,
I also think
mm.
of the that I had was also, it also gave me space to prepare. Sometimes you may have to take up some volunteering stuff. Um, to be fair, I feel like I had a lot on my plate that period. So I'm not sure I took so many volunteering things because and to be fair, before then I had done so much volunteering, I had served. So I didn't really need it. But I tell people that if you look at your resume and feel like, okay, you don't have like enough leadership stuff, especially for a school like Harvard, yeah, you
Right.
have to take some
Mm,
time out, maybe take it to buff up your experience a little bit, right? In terms of extracurricular. There's certain schools like Cambridge that I understand they don't really care. I didn't apply to Cambridge. Because I did not even have a first class university. And also in terms of personality as well, I want to go to a school where I can get a good balance, academics and a great social life, network with people, go to class, do well academic and also have fun. That was very important. Um, yeah. So I don't want to talk about many things at once. So
I,
yeah, yeah.
I
So
I think I'm just going to like use what you just said about volunteering as a springboard to like say a couple of things. Sometimes at Prenet Consulting, apart from hosting events like this or shows like this, we also review CVs, review essays, graduations to schools abroad, academic civil, all of that. And one of the things I keep emphasizing, when we're reviewing some of these things is, I call the clients again, I speak to them and I say, I think what is really missing in your application is that leadership experience, extracurricular experience. I keep telling people the of, even if you're still at work, maybe you had no chance to like be involved in extracurricular stuff when you were in uni, but even work, are there opportunities for you to like give back in some sort of way to the society? Join different there's so many organizations that you can join, even though you are already in the work sector, for example, or you're already working in working class. There's so many organizations that you can join to give back to the society. There are so many things you can even do in the office. Interestingly, for the first, and I thought it was a very good thing to leverage on. So he said it doesn't know if it really counts as an extracurricular activity, but is in charge of the welfare of the staff at work. I said that's great, and then we leverage that to then say that, oh, this person is empathetic, this person has, just to show that you're not focused on work alone or academics alone. And for in or watching, I think what Damola has said is so important. You cannot overemphasize the importance of having extracurricular and leadership activities, being very visible in either your essays or your CV. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Damola. So I'll move on to the next question. And the next set of questions are on the application process. And so these questions are very specific for the Harvard Law Program. So the first question we have here is, what documents are required to apply for Harvard Law School? I mean, of course, I know some of these things, the information are definitely available online, but let's hear you share with us, what documents do we need? So if someone is interested in an LLM at Harvard, what do they need to put in place?
Okay, great, thank you. So I think I should mention, so Harvard also has like the doctoral jurisprudence program. Usually a lot of people that come for it are people that like have not done like a law degree. Some people that have law degrees can also come for it as well, right? And the most international students would come for the Master of Laws program. Most of us are like lawyers, right? So so it depends on what you're applying for. I have people that reached out and said I want to apply for the JD program, and it's a different process. So I'll just like most times try to connect them with my friends that are in the JD program as well. The Master of Laws program is more tailored towards people that are lawyers outside Nigeria and want to get a US perspective. So I think for the Master of Laws program, so the usual thing I like to start with is recommendations, and I think it goes across board. I feel like that's one thing that's not as outside your control, and it's very important. I feel like once you know you want to apply for a master's program in any school, your recommendations should be the first thing you think of. Would you want to? Who are your? I think for me, I had a list of people that I felt like I was building relationships with, or even if you don't have so tight relationships with them, you were their student, right? You had a B, or you don't even have to, whatever grade you had in your class, right? Or you were active or something, whatever it is. I think this person will be willing to recommend you.
Yeah.
Not 2 months to the application deadline, reach out to them. You need to start building a relationship. Send an email, hello ma. Thankfully for me, I schooled in the University of Lagos. I did my law school in Lagos, which was a good advantage because it meant that I could just pop up and just appear in Unilag one day and just greet a lecturer. Like it was easier for me to manage, right? But I think that if you know that you schooled outside, especially if you're Nigerian and you schooled outside Lagos, right? You actually need to start intentionally send emails. For people that don't read their emails, get their WhatsApp numbers, start intentionally building relationships with them. If you're still in university or undergrad, you have such a great advantage. You need to start being close to your lecturers. And when I say close, you don't have to be like, oh, all in their faces, but just cordial, polite, let them know your names. If they have stuff you're doing, events you're organizing, try and volunteer. If you have a project supervisor, keep relationship with that person. Even if you feel like you do not have the best grade in that course, it doesn't matter, because most times people remember character over um,
Mm.
there are certain schools you're applying to that grades are super important as well. So I think recommendations. If you're applying to a school like Harvard, I don't know how to say them, because recommendation is another person's perspective about you.
Mm.
You can get information or recommendation on the like Harvard website. But I think a core thing I have to mention is that I've seen recommendation letters online, the templates, right? Very random. I don't think that's the kind of recommendation you should use for a school like Harvard. It's my personal opinion, but it's a competition. That's the truth. And it may sound sad, but that's what it is, right? 20,000 people are applying. They're trying to pick 180 people. It means that your recommendations must show that you are the best things in sliced bread. You need to work. There are a number of people that have platforms where you can watch how to manage recommenders and stuff. Yeah. So recommendations. And then I think you also have to now think of resume. And that's like the CV. Some schools want 2 pages, 3 pages. You can look at the school website to just check what is important. But I think the CV, there's a skill to drafting a CV for a master's program. A skill to presenting your experience, because you and somebody can have the same experience, but I can present it in a better way, right? And I know there are a number of resources online on how to use numbers, how to use figures and stuff to present your experience well. Please speak to alumni. Like one of the first things you should do when we want to apply is to set up chats. If you set up chats with 100 people, and if 90 don't respond, that's great. The fact that 2, 3, or 4 people respond is fantastic. These people don't owe you their time. They're just being generous, right? So after recommendations, you need to start with people that have gone through that program, because there's nothing, absolutely nothing new under the sun. No matter how intelligent you think you are, no matter how smart you're smarter than you, there are people that have gone through that experience, so they have an advantage over you, right?
Right.
So resumes, there are certain schools that require taking an English test. Harvard doesn't require for people from certain countries. Thankfully, Nigeria is one of those countries. So, but when I was applying for certain schools, I had to take the TOEFL, or some people have to take IELTS, depending on the country as well. I know I also plan to take the IELTS for a certain school, but I didn't, like, when Harvard came in, I didn't bother with the IELTS anymore. So you have to look at language tests. I think just check the website as well. Peculiar things I'll talk about that people also ignore. So like Harvard has like an application form. You can take it. Oh, it's just me. It's just them asking for my name. It's just so people can think very like a Jessica, but your application should tell like a whole story, and everything should connect to each other, right? For me, for example, my personal, so Harvard has an academic essay. I wrote on, I think, something techish. My personal story, that's the personal part of my statement, also indicated that I had a background from my family experience in corporate, in law, and then how I got that interest in technology as well, right? And then tying it up with how finance. And it meant that, so the application form is different from like, so the supporting documents usually be your resume, your personal statements, your personal statement, your academic essay, depending on the school. Different schools have different things they ask for, right? Yeah. But the application form is like, oh, okay, just fill the form. What's your name? What's your this? They'll ask you, oh, give it to me. And I know that people just always take it very, but that's it. I remember one of the first things I did when I wanted to reapply was the first form I filled was my application form before even rehashing or reviewing my CV or so that I don't take it in a like a discount manner. And it means that everything I was saying tied up. So in Harvard application, there's a part that says, tell us something fun about yourself, right? I think that part for me was a part where I could show my personality. One of the things I wrote was that, oh, I consider myself to be a fantastic matchmaker, right? It was very off from every other thing I was talking about, tech, right? But it was important because if you're a matchmaker, it means that you have emotional intelligence, you know how to assess people. And even though it means nothing, it just means that I'm a fun person. Like, I like seeing my friends in love, right?
Yes.
It sometimes you don't have to like, actually for secondary school, sometimes it's for you to want to come, oh yeah, the best things in sliced bread. But sometimes a part of the application also has to show personality, also
Yeah.
has ability, because when you come in certain environments, right? It's a very humbling environment, right? And if you're not humble enough, you will not pick up things fast. If you're not humble, you will not adapt quickly. So your application, like at least for Harvard, some schools don't require this kind of information, right?
Mhm.
Some schools, I think I even read about like music I liked, Afro beats and like R&B songs. It may seem very off, right? From oh, it's a master's application, but it was important for me to show that oh, even aside from me being interested in academics and like a legal career and stuff,
Yeah.
this is the side of, and that part of tell us something interesting about yourself. I review that part at least 7 times. And when I say at least, it means that it's just a 150 words paragraph. It means that when I say at least, it means that that's what number of times I couldn't remember. Sometimes I'll be sleeping, I'm like, okay, let me change this. So, like every single word is so important. And there's a strategy to this. I took a particular like consulting course that was super popular at that time. Every single statement is so important. Like everything has to tie up, right? Your another thing that people make. So there's a part of you have a resume that talks about all your story, right? And your application form will ask for your work experience in a very right. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, it doesn't matter, just copy and paste, right? But sometimes your application form can be an opportunity for you to talk about something, not talk about, for you to highlight something that you may not have highlighted in your resume, just to chip things in, which means that every single word is so important. Like every single statement, like you cannot afford to waste words, right?
Right.
Which the application form. Also, you're applying to Harvard, you should have a passport. I don't know how to say it, right? One of the things they ask for in the application is if you don't have a passport, I I know Nigeria there's some lag or something, but it's also one of the things that before you even like the recommendation process, like I didn't recommend that. That's one thing you should be applying for your passport and stuff. Also as well, academic writing. Because it's a master, you're going to write a lot, you're going to do exams, you're going to write an LM paper. That is something that you have to take extremely seriously.
Mm.
You need to, I think for me, I can remember that period as well. When I wake up in the morning, when I'm like taking a shower, I'll be listening to like YouTube videos on like how to write a personal statement so that like it's in my brain, right? I remember I used to like take some time out to read articles from Stanford Law Journal to see, okay, how the American write stuff, how the Americans communicate as well. What kind of things do they want to see, right? For a school like Harvard, in my academic essay, I could even be a little bit witty, right? If I'm applying to a school like Oxford, I can't afford to be witty. It's a very scholarly environment, right? Harvard is also very scholarly, but it's a bit more balanced, right?
Mm.
So also, like you're applying to a law school, yes, you are different, yes, it's spectacular, but I hate to say this, there are only like one or two, three, there are only very few geniuses in the world. That's the truth. And the best advantage you can have for yourself is to prepare well. Um,
Mm.
yes, the academic writing as well. I'm not sure I'm missing out anything at this point. Transcripts. Oh my
Mm.
God. If you're not, let me circle back, please. If you're Nigerian, you went to federal university, I don't want to talk about my story with transcripts. I like the minute you want to apply, that's like thankfully I was even so blessed. I was in university, I went to University of Lagos in my Nigerian, so I could manage things easily, right? And I had a few contacts in these institutions, right? But if you went to a school that is a little bit far away and the system is really slow, I know people that have gotten admission and had to defer just because their school was super slow. If you're in certain systems, please, your transcript should be sorted out as soon as possible. Thankfully for a school like Harvard, you can just submit like an official copy of your transcript that you have with you. But you actually need to process it because once you get admission, they're going to ask the school to send over. So I know people that before they even got the admission out of faith, they already told the school to send the transcripts over, right? Transcripts actually almost gave me a headache when I got my admission. Like, oh, I didn't want to talk about it. It gave me a lot of headache, right? Yeah, I think those are like the key things. The rest, please watch YouTube videos,
Mm.
read articles, and fine tune your writing. Take out time to prepare. Manage your recommenders. There's a whole bunch of story recommendation. There's a tendency for you to want to use people that have big names. Honestly, follow
Right.
the and there's a balance to it. Follow the instructions on the website. If they say they want professors, use professors. If they say they want professors and an academic, use professor and academic, right? Harvard has a minimum of 2 recommenders, maximum of 5. Last I checked, I used 3. A balance. they wanted at least one academic recommendation. Obey academic is undergrad program, right? So I used a professor in my undergrad. And when I say my application was also like telling one single story, the professor in my undergrad had a link, what the person taught on had a direct link to my practice focus in Harvard. The lecturer I used in Nigerian law school had a very clear link to my practice focus in Harvard, right? The professional recommendation I used had a very clear, like, so everything, if you just pick up my application, you could tell this is what this girl is passionate about without even thinking too much. Like, I wasn't taking them on the tangent. I know people would have done a different strategy, just doing a bit of both, but you also want to show some focus. Yeah. So I think that would be just the main things I'll mention. Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Damola. Thank you so much. I mean, there's just a whole lot from what you've said that I think these are some of the nuances that really set apart an extremely great application. And yeah, I've seen so many people that actually have excellent grades, but these little things that, like the type of recommendations, the specificity of their academic writing or academic essays, they've just been very lackadaisical about it. But I think I also want to emphasize, especially what you've said about recommenders, and I think I also want to ask for your opinion. One of the things I usually advise people is, I mean, of course, follow whatever it is that the school is asking for. If they're asking for academics, I mean, so there was for Commonwealth scholarships, they were very specific. They wanted one academic, one professional, and one personal. I don't know if it has changed now, but then that was what it was. So getting someone from your undergrad, getting somebody in your office that's your employer, and getting someone who maybe, I mean, someone who knows you personally. And also what you said, I think the mistake most Nigerians make is they want the dean of their faculty to be the one to write the letter. They want the deputy vice. Choose someone who knows you,
Yeah.
who can
And if
out.
someone that knows you, someone that is willing to portray you in the best light possible.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
that knows you not be willing to portray you in the best light. And I know I said it's a competition. It's like for certain schools, not a competition, right? If a lot of people are not, but certain schools are applying to, that's what it is, right? If I say a recommendation saying, oh, this student in the past 5 years, out of 5,000 students I've taught, this is the best student I've ever taught in the past 5 years. And I understand that, oh, she's diligent, she's smart. I'm going to pick the one that says, this is the best student I've taught in the past 5 years.
Right.
If you're good and Obama can give you a strong recommendation, I'm happy for you, right? But if you know that there is a lecturer that is not even like a professor in your university that can submit a solid recommendation for you, please go with that lecturer, right? Also have backup plans. I cannot say it, and I'm talking from personal experience, right? Your recommender can fall ill. Your recommender may be extremely busy. I can remember like my Harvard application, at the last minute, I had to switch to someone else. Not because the person knows it, like the person was extremely, but the person had a personal stuff during that period, and it was very unfair for me to start something that person for something like when the person was dealing with something personal, right? It also means that you also have to have options set out, right? And sometimes people that you think, for example, people say, oh, I want to be a partner or a managing director of the company I work with, but as a senior associate in the firm you're working with that you're close to, right? That you know that you and can give like a study recommendation, please go with senior associate. I don't know how to say this enough, right? Anybody that you ask, and the person, one of my major rules, if I ask someone, oh, can you help? My person saying, oh yeah, I'll think about it. I'll probably say, oh, thank you so much, right? But trust me, I am not going forward with that person. I may send you, oh, this is my resume, right? Just seem polite. But it means there's a hesitation because it means that I cannot trust what the person will submit for me.
Right.
I need to talk to somebody that I know that the person. I usually like reach out to people that I feel like I have some sort of like very good relationship with. Someone that I know that the person is willing to give me the best possible recommendation.
Right.
Exception. I know people that they've used people that hesitated and it went through, but I feel like I wasn't willing to take that risk. Once you hesitate, but oh, let me get back to you on it. I'll be like, oh, thank you so much. I'll follow up on you. I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
But best believe, if I follow up, just have to be polite. I have moved on to another person that I think will be a stronger recommendation, right? Because time is valuable, right? The application process, you're spending money. You're not spending air, right? You need to ensure that whatever money you are spending, at least there's a good chance that you reap the reward. And they put everything in the hands of God. Let God do the rest.
What do you think about drafting recommendation letters? So in my own case, I feel like, I mean, outside school, whatever I think I'm applying for, I mean, like what you said, I always go for people that I know they can extensively write about me. And but I also believe in, I don't want my recommendation letter to be one page.
Yeah.
I don't know, depending on this.
Please don't make I can like
I like
tell them recommenders specifically, like this is a school that's so you have to give context. Dear madam, 25,000 people are applying, there only be 180. Like give them whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So I would always like, you know, after reaching out to them to say, please, I'm interested in applying for so and so. I want to use you as a recommender or as a referee. I know you are very busy, but can I share my CV and a draft? You know, with the draft, feel free to like edit. You know, but you see, in that draft that I'm sending to you, I'm writing it based on my relationship with you. I'm writing it like I really want to be highlighted about me in the recommendation letter, and I just sent to you as a draft. I mean, some people don't use the draft. Some people use expand on it and all of that. But really, what do you think about coming up with a draft recommendation letter just to save?
Well, some schools will tell you specifically that you must not write a recommendation letter. Who says that I am pleading with you, right? You need to align with the school's rules. Can you get, for example, sending a resume, sending templates, and sending your resume that talks? So, for example, for each recommender, I sent a tailored resume or tailored CV, sorry, which means that I have a general CV, right? But there's certain things I do not want a particular recommender to repeat. I wanted every recommender to show different perspectives, right? Yeah. So for a particular academic I'm dealing with, I would send a specific type of, so that when the person writing recommendation letter, the person is giving a particular story, and that person will send a particular story, and that person will tell a particular story.
Right.
So something, for example, a particular CV I'm sending with for a professional recommender, where I involved in volunteering stuff, I probably remove it from my academic CV and I'm sending it to an academic recommender. Also, please speak to alumni before you finally reach out to recommenders, right? That's a very, speak to alumni in the school, ask them what they did. Alumni that can tell you the truth, that can be extremely blunt with you, and confidence. Ask them, when you wanted to reach out to recommenders, how did you draft the email? What did you do? Whatever those alumni tell you, I would advise that you follow it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Damola. In fact, see, from everything you've been saying since we started this IG live, I think I can tell the passion you put into your application. Not just the passion, but how far you went, the extent you went. And I think this is something that I've not been seeing in many young people, you know. So when I engage,
there's also a wave of AI generated.
Exactly, I was going to talk about that.
Thankfully, and I don't know how to explain. Remember, I said it's a competition, right? If you're applying to certain schools, there's also a balance to it, right? Because to be fair, like when I was applying, I wasn't even like familiar with ChatGPT. That's the truth. So I was not even aware that I could even use it, right? But I'm sure that maybe even if I was aware, I could not afford, because I was reapplying, I could not afford to take that risk, right? The truth is that if you generate something with AI, right? Not if you fine tune something with AI. If you generate something with AI, there's a way I can check that thing online and know that this was. See, there are certain words somebody better. They already know that this was an AI that wrote this draft. Too much grammar, repeating stuff. Like there's so, and a lot of people that are reviewing applications, they are academics in this system, right? Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Damola. Please, if you're hearing this, Damola is saying you shouldn't be lazy with your applications. I'm also team diligence and team work. So even if you're asking someone to review your essays or your documents, you're not asking those people to like get the work done for you, which is what I see sometimes. You know, some people feel like you know, we're paying you, so get it done, perform magic, and then they neglect some other things like their recommendation letters, which nobody can write for you apart from your recommender. So to what extent are you even going? Thank you so much. I think another question that we actually have, and I think you've already said it, but if you'd merge these responses, so when you submit your Harvard application, when you submitted your application, how many months did it take for you to get a response? And if you can just tell us what do you think really made your application, stand out? I mean, you said so many things along those lines, and I think one other question is if this your Harvard LLM is funded, and how you went about it, if you got a scholarship or whatever it was. Yeah, over.
So I think the first question you asked was how many months it took to respond.
Yes.
How would I the response everybody around the same time, rejection, admission. I think sometime in March. So I think I submitted December, first day in December or so, and then everybody got their responses March. I didn't even check, right? But that's a story for another day. Your next question was, what's your other question?
What do you think made your application? I mean, it's not as if you, but yeah, but left you.
Well, I think
what do you think?
My recommendations were definitely like, I was more strategic with like my recommenders, right? So I think the first I give them enough context, right? But I think this time around they knew, and also because also I was really like, there was so much information that I had put in their face. Like, this is the applicant pool, this is my resume, right? Tailored, right? There was just like a lot more context. So I think definitely my recommenders, and I'm so grateful for them. They played such a huge role, and in that process for me, even though I kind of stressed them out, I'm so grateful for them as well. I also think my academic essay was a lot better.
Okay.
After I submitted my first application, I couldn't even say because I'm like, oh no, like what did I do? Right. And if I just had a lot on my mind, I left my old job, trying for a new job. Like I was doing too many things at once, right? So I wasn't even like, yeah. So I think my academic writing was so a lot better. Okay. I also think everything, like I was saying about how like the front part, the part that says tell us something fun about yourself, that I reviewed that part 7 times. So if I could review that part of my application 7 times, you can imagine what the other parts, and that's the part that everybody's, oh, that's the chilled part. You can imagine other parts that people think look similarly important, but I looked at it, right? I also it's not over until it's over. I remember that 15 minutes or some to the deadline, I was still reviewing, like I would look at it, I was like, oh, this word is off. Put it like until the final deadline, which I didn't even advise. Well, I wanted to, and even though I never feel like I did my best, I wanted to feel like I put in my best effort, right? This is about speaking to alumni, speaking to people that not just from your school. I took Stanford, people doing that Hennessy, people in Oxford, people in Harvard, like, and at the same time also following your gut. Even while I talk to many people, it's not everybody's advice I took into consideration.
Got it.
Also, I think maybe being a Christian also helps, right? But I think this is also advice across board for people that are not even Christians, right? And I know everybody's about following your gut. Everybody tells you what works for them, right? But when it comes to something the application, there's any advice I got that was someone was like, oh, maybe you should not talk about this, but I left it there because I feel like this thing is my personality. I don't want to whitewash myself.
Got it.
Right? I also think that my application told a stronger, cohesive story. My personal statement was actually personal. The first one, I think I wrote maybe was just a very, like, I didn't show any passion in my first application. I think second application, you could see that I had grown. Also, my career goals were more realistic. There's a tendency for you to apply to Harvard. You want to say, oh, I'm going to be the next president of the World Bank. And yes, please have audacious goals, right? But I think for me, I'm not even sure I put anything out of the blues. They were slightly ambitious, but they weren't the most ambitious, right? But they were very, you could see that, oh, this girl is passionate. This is something that you know that it will not take magic for her to achieve these goals, right? They were more real, even in terms of like where I was at that moment, where I was going. It told a clearer story instead of just being all over the place, right? Ensuring that I just did a better job across board. I think that helped as well. I also took additional professional courses, I should mention. For some reason, I have to spend money. I took them on Coursera. They had like a 7-day free trial period. I took like 3 or 4 courses during my leave, right? And it was not just for Harvard, it was for my own personal development, but it was great for my applications, for my LMs as well. And I didn't spend a single dime. What kind of courses were these? Oh, I took a course on privacy. I took a course on fintech law and policy. Okay. Yeah. So it also, also helped to just show that, oh, if this girl is taking a course 3 months before application, whether or not she's being strategic, she clearly cares about this sector,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yes.
So impressive. I mean, I have no words at all. So I think my last question was about funding.
Oh, yeah.
So basic funded, and if yes, how did you go about it? How
Oh,
did you apply?
the reasons
Yeah.
why Harvard is because Harvard has a great funding. I tell people that, and that's why I want to mention funding is also important because of visa process if you're applying to certain countries. This is a part that people don't mention a lot. If you're not born in certain countries that have very strict immigration policies, you may need to ensure that the schools you're applying to have a fantastic funding or you have a great travel history. I cannot emphasize it enough, right? There's certain countries that you're applying to that may be easier to travel and stuff, which is great. If you know you don't want to, and the thing with funding is that at least what I'm familiar with, when you have good funding from your school, it's easier for you to tell a story at the embassy that you have ties to your home country, right?
Right.
Loans, and of course there are exceptions that would have done it, but it's just easier when you go to a school that has a good name and also has funding. So that's why Harvard is like a top choice for many people, because the funding, especially if you, of course, you have to submit the application, right? But I tell people that if you speak to alumni, you get into Harvard Law LLM program, they will do everything they can to ensure that you come. That's the truth. And that funding part is so important, especially if you're from certain parts of the world where there are lots more restrictions on
Visa.
on visa process. I wish I could talk about it more, but I'm sure people that are watching already understand what I'm saying. It's a huge issue, and please plan for it. Plan for, even if you feel like your parents are going to cover it. Everybody, that story can be hard to believe at the embassy, right? Because anybody can say their parents are going to cover it. Anybody can show a bank statement. It's just easier when you say that an American institution is covering your funding. That's the truth. Of course, there are exceptions. Sometimes you have to take some risk, be audacious and stuff, but there can be easier ways. And even if you don't get funding, if you can even get like maybe half or like something that's a little bit good to even show that, okay, this makes some sense instead of
Right.
getting zero funding. I
Yeah.
remember, like, if I see a particular school that doesn't have funding, I'm not even bothering applying. Like, there is no point. I also wanted to make for example people that maybe are not not a master of laws. Sometimes you want to get into a particular program, right? Um, Maybe like a PhD, a doctorate program, right? But and you've been trying and you're not getting good funding, which is can be weird, but yeah. If you know you can get into a master's program that will give you funding and use that way to get into the PhD program. Because if you get a master's program with like 100% whatever funding, right? And you can get if you're not a citizen of that country, you can get a visa. It's easy for you to move. And when you get into that country, you can, after the master's program, then apply for the PhD.
Got it.
Right? Instead of getting into like a 4 or 5 year program with funding that is not great and then dealing with visa issues at the embassy. I think that part is very important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Damola. I mean, before I ask you to say your final words, was your application fully funded?
Yeah.
Did it come with?
It was
Okay.
great funding, honestly. It was really, really great funding. I feel like getting this admission took a huge burden off my funding. But yeah, it was really great funding. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what are your final words, not just for people interested in applying for a master's in law, but generally for people who want to study abroad from any country? What would be your final words?
Okay. I think for me, it'll be three things. And the first thing is grace. And I know this is something that people try not to mention too much because of like, oh, everybody's saying grace, grace, grace. There's a balance to it, right? But I also think that, and that people don't acknowledge, is that there's a place that grace plays in like a lot of these things, right? And grace gives wisdom. Grace gives wisdom. For example, I mentioned that I had advice to remove something from my application, but I left it there, right? It's not because I think I'm smart, which I am, but because, of course, okay, this thing shows my personality, leave it, right? Grace helps you to keep pushing when you're tired. I know it can seem sweet to say now, but a lot of my friends were very helpful during this process, because there are times when I was very frustrated, times when I felt like I wasn't adequate, right? And that's where grace also propels you as well. And I think the second thing I also like to mention is the journey. Please try to take fit. That's why people always advise, don't do it in a rush, so that you can take time to rest, right? There are the times I'm like, during that, I was going out, I was trying to have fun, right? Lagos, there was something happening in Lagos, right? I was serving, volunteering, hanging out with friends, right? But there are times when I would just be hidden, hibernating, right? And that's why you need to space yourself out, right? Please don't be overwhelmed, so that you don't make errors, you don't wish that, oh, maybe I should have done better and stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I think also, while it's good for us to be audacious, everybody wants to get into the best schools and stuff, but also have a solid plan. I remember the day I checked my Harvard application, I was applying to another school, my application for another school at that same day, right? I had a like, because I don't think any school is, I believe that no school is determinant of my destiny, right? So whether or not I get into Oxford, I get into Cambridge or whatever school, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be successful, right? So having that mindset as well, right? If they admit you, great. If they don't admit you, like, cry, let it out, talk to friends about it, re-strategize, but also have a proper backup plan. Sometimes the school that you think, oh, this school is not so this, may actually be a school that may be a better fit for you, and you actually have an opportunity for you to blossom, right? If you
Right.
get into top schools, that's amazing. It helps. Brand name, prestige, right? But master's degree, PhD is not a determinant of success. It can, and I'm going to give that balance, because education is a great way for you to move ahead faster, especially if you are from certain jurisdictions. It's a fact across board, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to be stuck to a certain. Also, like, look at your short-term goals, mid-term goals. I notice a lot of people that have families who prefer to do their master's degree in Canada, right? Compared to all we single Pringles are still jumping about and can just be moving anywhere, right? So I think also assess your other goals, your short-term goals, your mid-term goals. If it's a country where you know that, okay, you want to come back to Nigeria immediately after your master's, can I get course in that school that will look at an international perspective? And that's something that Harvard really has, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of international perspectives in class. So I know that, okay, if you want to come back to Nigeria after your master's, this is a school where I can learn stuff that I can transfer.
Got it.
Yeah. And remember, as I said before, no school is a determinant of your destiny. You're going to be successful if you put in the work, and with the grace of God, anyways. Enjoy the journey, not the results. You think that you get the results and your life will be sorted out. You think that, I'm sure you know the rat race of life. Praise, you know that already. It never ends. The day you get your admission letter, another hustle has started. That's the truth. You're already dealing with transport, you're already dealing with visa, right? Like, so that's what you have to ensure. And I'm so grateful for that experience, that you enjoyed the journey, not the destination, right? So that you don't abandon friendships in the process of seeking ambition. And that's something I'm so happy about, right? Whenever people say, oh, I don't want to hide things from my friend, I get it, right? There's a balance, right? But I want to ensure that when my friends hear good news, they are happy to call me. You don't want to
Yeah.
get an, and then it's just you call anybody to celebrate. It's like nobody really cares. You want things to happen to you. You're carrying your friends along. Your friends are carrying you along. You are making friends. You are building good social circles. Just trying to find that balance. I do think there are seasons in life. There are seasons when you should be very focused on certain things. But even if once in a while, balance things out. Spend time with your nephews. Spend time with your parents. Spend time with your friends.
Got
I
it.
also think that experience also makes your application. I don't know how to explain, but it makes your application rounded. It's the journey that matters. No result will ever truly fulfill you. That's the truth. But if you can enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, it makes you a better person, midterm, short term, long term.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Damola. I've so enjoyed this chat. I've really enjoyed so many gems from your responses to our questions. Thank you so much. And I don't have any final words. I mean, Damola has said everything that I can even imagine to have said. So thank you so much, Damola, for gracing our screens
Thank you very much.
with your and accepting be on this live with us. So I'm going to say a good evening to everybody and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And please, once the replay is available, feel free to share with other people. And thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Praise. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.